In this next episode of our Getting to Know Jesus series, we visit a first century boat Jesus might have used, and we sail the Galilee on its exact replica as we learn a bit more about the friends and followers of Jesus. This is beautiful northern Israel. This region is marked by the Sea of Galilee, the body of water that was the backdrop for most of Jesus' ministry here on earth. In the first century, the Sea of Galilee was home to Jesus' closest friends and followers, the people with which Jesus lived, ate, traveled, and attended synagogue every Sabbath. The people who knew Jesus best, experienced his miracles up close, and learned from his teaching. I've always wondered what it would be like to go back in time 2,000 years and blend in with these earliest followers of Jesus, to feel part of this inner circle that made the Galilee their home. That's why I met up with Danny the Digger Herman, archaeologist and tour guide, and I asked him to take me as close as possible to these earliest followers of Jesus. And he thought the best way to start was by visiting an incredible archaeological find they left behind. Today we're going to see an old boat, I think, yes?
Yes, an amazing discovery made in 1986 when the shoreline of the Sea of Galilee was much lower. It's actually now very exceptionally high.
Yeah.
And two brothers from kibbutz Ginosar were walking along the exposed shoreline and they notice an elliptic shaped item.
Yeah.
What is it? They think it's a boat, but okay, a boat. When samples of it are sent to the laboratory, the results are, yes, it's a boat, but it's a 2,000-year-old boat.
Wow.
That is an amazing discovery.
Well, I'm excited to go and see it. And so, hey, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
The tourists like calling it the Jesus boat. The official name of it is the Boat of the Galilee.
Right.
But I like to say it might be the boat used by one of the disciples or even Jesus himself. That boat is from the time of Jesus, and it is found in a place mentioned in the New Testament. Okay? So it's the time and space. You cannot rule out the possibility that this boat was used by the disciples or perhaps even the boat Jesus sailed on.
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling to find, and it's organic, yes? It's not a wall, a stone, a mosaic floor. It's an organic discovery.
Right.
Such discoveries are so rare. You know, the only other real famous organic discovery is the Dead Sea Scrolls. 99% of the time when you dig, you find pottery shards, you found architecture, what's left of the stone components, the furniture all decays. And here, sunk in the mud,
Yeah.
a 2,000-year-old boat. It's as if there's divine intervention there to make it last, so one day we could retrieve it and see it and show it.
That's amazing. And now, so Jesus, we know his friends that he sort of hung around with when he was in his 30s were his disciples. That's who they became known as.
Yeah.
And we also know from various parts of Scripture that they were on a boat together, different times.
Several times, yes.
Several times.
But the most famous story relating to Jesus and a boat,
Yeah.
what comes into your mind?
The storm.
The calming of the water, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's familiar with this. Where does the story end? That's a part that most people do not remember, and the text says Ginesaret. After calming the sea, they landed at Ginesaret. Where was that boat found? In the shores of Ginesaret.
Right.
Boom! That's pretty
amazing.
spectacular.
I'm looking forward to this. We made our way to Ginosar, the very place Jesus and his disciples anchored their boat after Jesus walked on the water and calmed the storm. Today, the location is a beautiful kibbutz by the Sea of Galilee and home to the Yigal Allon Museum.
Yes, this center was really built for Yigal Allon, a member of kibbutz Ginosar.
Right.
Now it's got two important highlights. The Yigal Allon Heritage Center and a display of the boat.
The boat, wonderful. As we approached the building, I grew more excited to experience the ministry of Jesus in a more tangible way.
Good morning.
Oh.
You must be Danny and Jeff. Nice to meet you.
Hi, good morning.
I'm Mirav from the Yigal Allon Center Museum, and I'm very happy to see you. And let's go to see the real thing, the boat.
Right there, right?
Let's go, yeah.
That's exciting. Okay.
This is it.
So this is a 2,000-year-old boat.
Yes. In such
Incredible.
great condition, considering its age. It's miraculous.
Considering its age, I wouldn't take it out right now.
No.
But it is an amazing condition for being 2,000 years old. So there's a story behind this, obviously.
Yeah. Two brothers of kibbutz Ginosar,
Right.
where this boat is on display today. In 1986, the shore level was much exposed. The water level was much, much lower because of drought. And these two brothers from the kibbutz went walking from here towards Magdala. And about 300 meters away, they notice in the mud an elliptic shape. They are puzzled by it, and eventually they call in the archaeologist. Now, this could be, I don't know, in a boat of the kibbutz that was dropped a few years back, or maybe from Turkish times, who knows?
Right.
When it's unveiled, when it is exposed, first of all, the maritime archaeologists that did the work noticed this style of construction is actually typical to Roman times. But then they send samples for carbon dating, and the result is very, very precise. First century. They also find pottery of some chicken soup that the fishermen had in the last use of this boat before dumping it, and it also dates to the first century.
Wow.
Okay.
The pottery or the chicken soup?
I don't know. The scent kind of faded away.
Okay.
But the shoreline along the Sea of Galilee, most of it is rocky. But they just happened to drop this specific boat in a muddy area. And the mud covered it, about 2/3 of it. The upper part is missing.
Right.
Whatever the mud covered got protected from oxidization and lasted to this day. Is that amazing or what? Now, we've examined also the wood. Let me
incredible.
show you the chart here that shows you the types of woods that were used in this. There's also a great story behind this. The analysis of the timber indicated that most of it were good quality cedar planks.
Right.
Okay? And the ribs were made from oak. And oak is also good quality tree, but its branches are more rounded, so it's just perfect for making
For shaping.
the shape of this boat.
Right.
But maybe this boat was even produced in Lebanon. The raw material, the cedar definitely came from there.
Okay.
But as it was in use over time, when you had to repair, they didn't send it back to Lebanon or brought professional
Okay.
fixer, mechanic, or the good material. They used the local. Okay, like the green is sycamore. Sycamore is not a very good quality tree, but it grows around here.
Right.
So that attests also to poor fishermen repairing it as much as they could, and at some point they decided we cannot keep using it. Let's just dump it. Maybe because it was a big storm that caused too much damage.
Ah. Well, except that Jesus did calm the storm, so
Yes, but there was one that could have caused
one
some
that
damage.
finished it off. So all the orange and the yellow, original material,
Yes.
and then we have all of these other types of wood.
Yes.
Now,
And a total,
there's a lot
here's
of
another
them.
one, a total of 12 different types of trees.
very intriguing.
Is
12.
this- yes, it's not just any number.
Right.
There's so much symbolism behind this technical archaeological discovery that you really are tempted to think there's some divine providence behind it.
Well,
there's something
I
really,
would be
really
tempted
special.
to think that, yeah.
And that's the reason why we get crowds, busloads of Christian pilgrimage groups that will also include a visit to see this place when touring around the Sea of Galilee.
Examining the Jesus boat helped me truly appreciate the significance of the find, and it helped me feel so close to the poor local fishermen who repaired their boat with whatever wood they could find and headed out fishing, possibly bringing a bowl of soup to go. Don't go away. When we come back, the experts tell us more about fishing in the first century, bringing Bible stories about Jesus to life in an even greater way. I was a pastor for over 20 years before I first went to Israel, only to realize that I was totally disconnected from the roots of my faith. Since then, I've been on a journey of discovery, and my faith has come alive in ways I never could have imagined. I'm Jeff Euters, Executive Director of First Century Foundations, and I'm excited to invite you to explore the land of the Bible and to discover your part in a Bible story that isn't over yet. First Century Foundations exists to reconnect Christians to the foundations of Christianity. And we do this by creating Bible-based media focused on Israel. But we don't just reconnect you to Israel in the Bible. We help you participate in what God is doing in Israel today by connecting you to over 70 ministries in Israel who desperately need our support. Will you partner with us? Together, we'll explore Israel's biblical past while playing our role in Israel's bright future. It was so exciting to see a boat right from the time of Jesus at the Yigal Allon Center. It truly made me feel closer to Jesus and his disciples and interested to learn more. So, I talked to a few experts in Israel about the followers of Jesus, fishing in the first century, and the incredible Jesus boat discovery.
The North was the wasn't the in crowd. They were rural, they were kind of outcast, they were looked down on. He was willing to go to the people that were open to him. And I think his emphasis and focus on the north of Israel was a clue to us that there was something larger going on here than just Jerusalem. It was about Jerusalem, but it was going to be about the world.
And when he starts to draw and call his disciples, I don't think they were complete strangers to him. Why? Because he lived in the Upper Galilee, so he might have already been known by a lot of these people. When he goes and calls them, I don't know that they're all strangers. Some of them might have been strangers, but I don't know that all of them had to be strangers. Maybe they had been friends before. One thing that comes to my mind is how odd it would be if a perfect stranger came up to you and said, "Start following me." That might be an odd thing for you to just drop your nets. However, when he calls the brothers, Peter and Andrew, James and John, they drop their nets immediately and they have the support of their father. So that indicates to me that perhaps they either knew one another or they at least knew about him by that time. So from there, he begins to expand his friendship circle, and he's not a respecter of persons or status.
Fishing is hard work, and it has lots of challenges and surprises. Sometimes you have to work at night. You need to know when and where the fish are running. There are different kinds of nets that were used, big cast nets that you could cast, the fishermen could cast off the boat and pull it in and bring it on, or a seine net, which is stretched out along a shore, and then a whole group of men gradually pull the seine net together and bring the catch into the shore. But it seems like Peter and John and James and Andrew, they were working in fishing boats using cast nets primarily.
We have a boat that archaeologists said it's about 2,000 years old. We know that in this area of the Sea of Galilee, the Jewish people lived during the Second Temple time. They've lived between Magdala and Capernaum. So it's very probably a fisherman boat. And who knows, it might be a boat of people that heard Jesus, saw him, maybe were the first people to follow him, the first Christians.
This is a fish processing town, and because it's exporting, there's more money for fish, for export. For export anything, there's always a little more revenue. So I can't imagine a single fisherman around the Sea of Galilee who doesn't want to export their fish. So that means then all the fishermen are very familiar with Magdala since they were children. They came with their grandpa, with their uncle, with their dad, as soon as they were able to behave themselves on a boat filled with fish. And then they knew everybody here. So just from a logistical point of view, if Jesus is on the road for a number of weeks coming back to Galilee, heading to Capernaum, they're tired after a lot of walking, these fishermen know so many places here. I mean, they know so many people here. They know so many boats here. So they can go and knock on any number of doors and say, is there a chance for a ride? Can we borrow a boat? And go across to Capernaum or to Bethsaida as they wished for.
It's a real miracle that a wood boat was found in a sweet water after 2,000 years. And it didn't, it was not ripped apart. It's really, really amazing. And I think that the important thing is that when Christian people come to Israel, they come to the Holy Land, they want to go through Jesus' path. They want to see and try to live as much as they can the life he had. And we're in the 21st century, everything changed, and all of a sudden, see a fisherman boat, when we know that the fishermen were so significant in Jesus' life, the disciples were significant. We know of the miracles of the fish and loaf and walking on water, so many things that happened in this area of the Sea of Galilee, and all of a sudden can, actually look at something that remained from that time. It's really amazing. We don't even know actually if Jesus used that boat or not. We call it the Jesus boat because of the time. But only the understanding that the people that used this boat, almost 100% for sure met Jesus, heard him. It's really bringing alive something that you come to see or you read on the Bible for your entire life, and that's really amazing.
In the boats of the first century, which are not huge craft, a storm can be a very life-threatening event. And the Sea of Galilee, because of its the way it is formed, can be a very dangerous place when the storm comes up. The Sea of Galilee is like a bowl. It's rimmed on all of its sides by mountains and hills. The wind comes from the west. In the morning, there's usually no wind at all, but in the afternoon, late in the afternoon, the wind picks up and it blows the water from the west to the east. And when the water gets to the eastern shore, it has nowhere to go, and so it hits it and then it rebounds. And when you have a wild storm on the Sea of Galilee, then you've got this movement of waves back and forth that can cause a ship to sink or a boat to sink. When Jesus is on the boat with the disciples in Mark, he's so exhausted that he's asleep. He's asleep on a bench on the boat with his head on a little pillow, and one of these storms comes up. And even though these men are very strong, they're very, very strong, and they're very experienced sailors, they fear that they will capsize. And they wake Jesus up and they say, "Don't you care that we're about to die?" Jesus, don't you care that we're about to die? Look at this storm. I can't make it through this. And he looks at them and he says, where is your faith? Where is your faith? He wants to say to them, even though I seem to be asleep, I'm with you and I'm your anchor. And where's your faith in this crisis that you are facing? I may seem to be out of touch, but I'm present, and when you need me, I am here. And so he's present in the midst of our storms. And those moments where we feel we can't go on and there could be death, he's still with us in this boat. We are not in it alone.
Don't go away. When we come back, Danny and I take a ride on an exact replica of the 2,000-year-old boat discovered on the shores of the Galilee.
First Century Foundations is committed to helping those in Israel who are most in need. And this is possible because of people like you. Your donations are supporting the most vulnerable in the land especially aging Holocaust survivors. By providing them with food and medication and spending quality time with them, First Century Foundations with our partner ministries are making a real difference in the lives of people who have experienced so much suffering.
People like us who lost everything and live with the pain, to have people that help us a little bit, we're very grateful.
Call or write today and receive our bi-monthly newsletter, including the Israel Prayer Watch, to help you pray for all the ministries we support in Israel. Partner with us for just $30 a month or more, and your generous donations can make a difference in Israel today.
It was so amazing to examine the first century fishing boat that was unearthed right from the shores of the Sea of Galilee. And as we headed toward Lido Beach, I was very excited to feel what it was like to be on board that very boat. I was grateful to Danny, who helped connect me to the mastermind behind the replica.
So Jeff, it turns out that I have a friend in Tiberias who made a 1-to-1 scale replica of the boat of the Galilee. Lido, ma nishma?
Hi guys.
This is Jeff.
Nice
Welcome.
to meet you.
Welcome to the Lido.
And these are your kids, no?
Yes, Erez and Peleg.
Okay, and they know how to sell it as well?
Yes.
Yalla, let's
Very good.
Only
Put it
when
to the
someone with license next to them.
Okay.
So this is a replica of the Jesus boat, and you are more than welcome to get on board and
Are we gonna catch some fish?
experience it. I hope. I
Yalla.
really hope so. We will do the best.
As we climbed aboard and set sail, the breeze off the water was beautiful. We headed north toward Capernaum on the very route Jesus and his followers would have sailed many times. Wow, Lido, thanks for bringing us out on this new boat.
My pleasure.
Now, you said this is pretty much an exact replica of the one that was found that we call the Jesus boat. We saw it earlier today. Now, how did you come about building the exact replica of the Jesus boat?
I bought a book back then, and the book had the plans of the boat by the people who made the recovery. This boat was found, and they found the last third of it, the lower third of it.
Yes.
And they could make an assumption according to the way that the wood kept on going.
Right. Well, one of the things we're talking about on this episode is the fact that Jesus and his disciples would have been in a boat just like this one.
True.
So talk to us about, ancient times, about first century times. How did the fishing work, for example? I like to fish. So what was that like?
Now, Magdala back then was the central area of fish preservation.
Right.
They used to catch the fish, bring it to Magdala, then they used to preserve it, cook it, salt it. I'm not sure how exactly, but I know that there was an open way from the Dead Sea to here. They used to bring a lot of salt by carrying them on barges and letting horses carrying the barges. The main area of fishing is the entry of the Jordan. So all of this bank, the northern bank of the lake, was a beautiful area to fish. In the summer, the wind was very helpful. You could go from east to south quite easily. There are a lot of springs there, so it's a beautiful area for fishing.
So Capernaum is the best place for fishing in all of the Sea of Galilee, that area.
Yes,
Is that
you
right
can
to say?
it. Yes.
Huh.
Exactly. It's very far. It's very close to the Jordan Inlet and very close to Magdala.
I find it interesting, though. You were making the reference to the best fishing being over here, and all of the stories that we read about Jesus and his friends, Jesus and the disciples, the ones who were fishermen in particular, surround this part of the Galilee. So I guess it's no accident that they were there more than perhaps anywhere else, between Capernaum and and Magdala. Yeah?
You can say so, it makes sense.
It does make
It
sense.
makes sense.
Yeah.
100% sense.
Now, you said this is pretty much exactly to scale. I think you said within 0.5%?
Yes.
To the Jesus boat that they found?
Yes.
So the big question for me is this, can 12 people fit on here?
Much more.
Ah, okay.
Many more. The issue is that this boat must have had a lot of weight in order to maintain the balance and the speed of activity.
Yeah.
When the boat is too low, you cannot maintain the speed. When it has 12 or 13 people on board, then it's solid.
Ah, then it is.
To be honest, yes.
And
it's
still
enough.
Peter got scared.
It's enough. Once you have 12 people on board, it's okay.
Sailing along the very shoreline that was so familiar to Jesus and his followers was exhilarating. Iddo's sons attempted to catch a fish a few times, but their nets returned empty, even after casting them on the other side of the boat, as Jesus had instructed his disciples here 2,000 years ago. We were not desperate to catch anything that day, so after several failed attempts, we headed back home and caught sight of fishermen who were having a little more luck than we were. Put on a show.
Here's lunch.
Look, this is a cow.
Iddo, thank you so much for allowing us to ride on your boat, the very
Thank
first
you very
people.
much. It was a pleasure.
Ah,
A lot of fun.
pleasure was ours, and you drove well,
Thank you. Thank you.
in spite of it being your first time.
It was. Bye-bye,
Bye,
guys.
Lido.
Well, Danny, thank you so much for an amazing day. I mean, we talked about Jesus and his friends today and really set the context by visiting the Jesus boat, the remains. But then we did something really special just now.
We sailed on a replica of it.
Absolutely.
That is something new. You know, how many people have done that? That was quite a unique experience.
Very much. And, you know, we were privileged to be one of the first to be on this new boat, which, you know, new boat, old boat, but
Yeah.
this new boat is exact replica of the one that they found. So just an incredible time. Listen, you need to come to Israel and experience what it's like to get out on the water on the Sea of Galilee, because it really is amazing out there, isn't it?
Yes, especially this time of the year.
Absolutely.
It's so beautiful, so green,
Absolutely.
so spiritual.
Yeah. So thanks for being with us today. And Danny, thank you for all of your help.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much for joining us today as we examined a boat from the time of Jesus and learned about some of his earliest friends and followers and sailed the Galilee just as they did. Please join us again next week for another episode of First Century Foundations as we continue our quest to get to know Jesus better right here in his homeland.